new music. And now back to your regularly scheduled elevator music.
Feel to it.
Yeah, it's got an almost improvisational tone.
This semester on Stat 201, prepare yourself for YouTube, because we're all zoomed out. Cahoots and special guests, Tiny Brian, Puppet Shark, Evil Moobot,
I am Moobot.
Morty the Rabbit, and more. Super Statistics Bros.
I am Evil Moobot. I control Puppet Shark. See, he agrees with me.
Evil Moobot, get out of here, Evil Moobot. Epic movie guy called him Evil Moobot. And so his name is officially Evil Moobot and Mubot. Not even sitting behind me, yeah, with Puppet Shark. Awesome. Good stuff right there. We got some new jokes if you didn't see. Good to see you here, Megan, Kevin, Whitson, Max right here. Megan, also Kevin, Megan, Matthew. Good to see you here, Matthew. Good to see everybody. Ball and Emily. Now, the biggest thing is this. It comes down to practice. I keep saying that. So with this right here, these concepts are only going to stick if you practice them and ask those questions. If you get up to the test and you haven't been doing, I'm just saying the obvious, right? So the good news is we got some practice tonight. Who saw what's coming up here tonight? Brian will try not to drink his third cup of coffee. He'll go on his Pokemon Go walk after. But what's coming up tonight? Who saw what's coming up tonight? I'm going to drop it here in the chat. Put on a little chill music for us right here. You know what? We don't usually go here. Let's just chill in our car. Let's go over here and just chill in our car. Oh my God. Where's my car at? Oh my gosh. Let me, I drove my car away. Let me come back here. Yeah. There we go. What we got going on tonight? Who knows what tonight is? Tonight's one of those big nights. Because I just chill right here. I'm just going to chill over here. Hope we have more than 25 watching. I'll be sad. I'll cry. Don't tell me how many are watching. What is coming up tonight? Who knows what tonight is? As Brian goes and grabs the live stream for tonight. 4 people waiting. What? That's amazing. Amazing. Right here. Is it a Kahoot? Not a Kahoot. Tonight, Activity 3 help. Tonight, brought to you by Stat201, Hackerman. Football night. Football night. Are you ready for some football? I'm not. Hopefully my team does well. Won last week. Who knows what happened this week? We'll hop back to the main screen. So we got some activity going on. I've had a lot of different meetings and different stuff. Going to help out with some... we helping out with a paper. Pretty cool. I got an opportunity to do that. But a lot of great stuff going on. So swing by the activity night. It is recorded. So it's going to be a lot of great help right there. Give me Activity 3 help over the Giants and Washingtons every day. Yeah, Giants and Washingtons, no. Activity 3 help, yes. We're all about that. Can't pick a more boring matchup. Get some Tampa Bay in there. Tom Brady going to wreck everything this year. Getting Super Bowl ring number 14. I don't know. He's been around for 20, 30 years, so he's got 14 rings. That's what they tell me. Sports. So with that, everybody, today's a big day. What topic have we been covering lately? Who knows the topics we've been going over? Because I forgot. My brain resets every week, which means it hasn't reset yet. It resets on Wednesday night. Today's Thursday. My brain reset. Who knows what we've been going over? I know what we've been going over. Who knows what we've been going over? It is your chance now for 100 points. What have we been going over? I am guessing... I'm not looking at the chat. I hope chat's saying correlate. That's what we're going to do. I hope chat has been saying associations. And associations are, let's take a look. Did they earn that 100 points? They did earn that 100 points. Associations not reading that histogram because histograms are not a good way to look at normality right there. Oh, Megan's throwing more jokes in the chat. Megan's got all the jokes, but now Mubot's going to have all the jokes. This is joke number 2. Megan, joke 2 is in the chat, right? Is in Mubot's brain now. So we're doing associations as of late, but here's a big thing to note. The type of association we're dealing with will depend on the what's for the variables. So think, how do you answer Brian's question? The type of association we're dealing with will deal with the what's for the variables. The type of association we are dealing with will depend on the what's of the variables. Because today is a little bit different. Association is when you know one value, it tells you something about another. And so the type of association we are dealing with will depend on the what of the variable. You could say the R word. I'd love if someone said the R word for 100 points. Like the word we talk about in R, which tells us what kind of variable it is. Which that's kind of the answer if I don't say the other word. So when we talk about different types of associations, it would depend on the what of the variable. Boom, right there, Julia, earning everyone those 100 points. The classes of the variables. Yep, the class. Celia, just go out on a limb. Just be like, is it this? Even if you get it wrong, I'll throw you some points. We get it wrong in class to get it right on the test. The only way to check your knowledge is to just put it out there, see if it's right, and then if it's wrong, you get to adjust it. So throw it out there. Great job, Megan, Max, and Julia right there. Remember, throw those questions out there, throw those comments out there. I'm always watching the chat. And today we are doing a special type of association, and that association is known as correlations. Correlations right here are only between what's. You'll see this throughout the notes. But when we do a correlation, a special type of association right here, it's only between what's. Hint, I'll do this right here. We were actually doing this in Stat201 office hours today. This can be correlated. This correlation, yes. This correlation, no. No to those right there. It's going to look like multiple choice, like a respondus test, multiple choice. Max is right, 2 quantitative variables. What type of variables is that mosaic plot? That's associations between 2 what's. That mosaic plot right there is an association between what's. That mosaic plot is an association between what? Let me throw some points out there. Might have hit that twice. Sorry if I did. That association is that mosaic plot, 2 categoricals. Great job, one right there. This is the practice. What graphic is Brian drawing? I don't even know my own name. That's sad. What graphic is Brian drawing right here? and what would go on the X and what would go on the Y. This is another thing we covered last class. Ooh, Cole, yeah, we're gonna go some QQ straight enough no outliers today with that mosaic, with that scatter plot. So the scatter plot over here is 2 quantitative variables. That's the scatter plot. Over here on the far left, we have a mosaic plot, which is 2 categorical variables. And in the middle here, what graphic is this? What graphic? I feel like I changed my screen size a little bit. Yeah, Megan, great job right there. You're all right, Megan. These are technically box plots or side-by-side box plots. So a box plot by itself is quantitative, like the scale of the box plot. Like if you look at the axis that goes across, you can do a horizontal box plot or vertical box plot, either which way. But if you put multiple box plots, you're dividing it into categories. So it's technically, and everyone's right, some 20 points where these are box plots, technically side by side. Yeah, exactly. They're box plots. So there's a second variable splitting apart the data into multiple groups. And just try to like say those things to yourself. Well, it's bivariate because there's 2 variables. Like you could literally look at like, I mean this, I mean this, I mean this. I see this in the data. If you're here right now, you're doing the right thing. Good job. People who attend class, yes, versus people who attend class, no. And the grade right here, like the number of points. So we'll just put here like a number of points. So I do see differences. Some people do very well and don't attend class. Maybe they are studying up a lot. Maybe they are, watching the videos because they might have to work or have kids. Totally understandable. But the biggest thing is if you can attend class, I'm always giving those shout outs to attending class. 100 points, you're doing the right thing right here, earning those crazy points. Try to get up to those 1.2 points. Brian has done it, and you have to get a lot of points to get up to the 1.2 points. But I throw out a lot of points. So if you're here early, you're going to get those big points usually early. And then we throw out little 20 points on those just random points given out. But you can get up there. We need some galaxy level Brian right there. Exactly. There is a tier beyond galaxy level Brian, but I think it's only meme tier. So I'm at the highest tier someone can get to. And I did reset my points this semester too. But I'm here every time we're streaming, I'm here. So you can get to there because like we're a third the way through the semester. So you can get there. Just keep hanging out. You'll get to it. A lot of people are meant to get to 1 point. See, Wilton's almost at the 1 point right there. It gets harder and harder each tier, but you're meant to get to the 1. The 1.1 and the 1.2 are they're the stretch goals. Anyone ever play New Game Plus on a video game? This is the last come on this. Anyone ever play New Game Plus? 1.1 is new. So the video game is up to 1.0, and then 1.1 is new game, and then 1.2 is new game plus. For those who play video games, you know what I'm talking about right here. The new game is like you're going back through your prestige mode right here. If you're getting 1.1, you're on new game. If you're getting 1.2, you're on new game plus. You can get to 1.2. I've gotten to 1.2, but I'm just literally here all the time. So what am I telling people about these goals right here, which I do want you to try to get to? My goal is for most people to get to 1. Like I want the average person to get to 1. And I realize the average person might not attend every class. But what am I telling you there about that 1.1, 1.2 goals? See, a lot of people are getting up there. They're climbing up that ladder right here. So keep attending. Each step is a little harder to get to. So what do you notice right here? That 1.1 and that 1.2 are going to be pretty hard to get to. Does it make sense? Exactly. Come to class, come to review sessions, and you're going to keep climbing up. You can see there's more of a dramatic jump between each one. So you can, if you're looking at people's points, be like, oh, it's like I've got a lot more points, but I've only got a little more extra credit. You get your first extra credit. It's really easy. It's game psychology of hooking you on the extra credit. Hopefully it's worked. So let's talk about these associations today, because Brian's trying to do like analytics on you, of course, to figure out how to get you to come to class and how to get you a review. It's all a game. It's all a game. It's psychology. My undergrad, possibly PhD. Never know. So we're back to the friendship analytics right here. And why are people friends with each other? Good question. Good question. Why do we have friends? It's like, why? I don't know. We can ask other analytical questions like, is somebody's GPA correlated to their ACT score? All of these questions would deal with associations that are correlations. Why? Why would somebody's GPA be correlated with their ACT score? Why would how much somebody spends at Trader Joe's be correlated with how much they spend at Shoney's? Why would sales at these weeks be correlated with the first week's sale? Why would this be right here? Change the bonus to cash. Yeah, right. I know, right? It's like $100. Everyone just be like, I will show up all the time to your class, Brian. It is kind of cash. You are spending cash to be here. Why are these all correlations? So these are types of associations, but they're all correlations. Why are every one of these a correlation? Why are every one of these a correlation? Key thing for this chapter, we do a lot of review. Like, it's just we're naming off tons of different correlations right here. Both are quantitative variables, exactly right there. They're all quantitative bivariate relationships. Take that note. Correlation is for bivariate quantitative relationships. We're going to see all those graphics here in a moment. So we have right here, what is an association? Just explain to me, without using this definition, why is on-base percentage correlated with teams winning? Why is the on-base percentage of players associated? It is correlated because they're both quantitative. Why is on-base percentage associated with teams winning? You can go by the definition, but I want you to try to come up with your own. Why is on-base percentage associated with teams winning? Why is it associated? Just try to use this right here and then explain to me, without directly quoting that, why like a player or a team's on-base percentage is associated with them winning. That would, Max, you're close. That would almost be what we would call multicollinearity, or because that's like shared variation. Pretty much, you're right there. So you're talking to me about the type of association. I like the answer so far. What Parker says, let me see what Parker said. Typically more runs, more wins, more. Exactly. These are all, and so when we say association, we're saying if we know how much a team is getting on base, that's going to give us information for how much they win. Does that make sense? It's going to narrow down the quantities. It's going to be like, well, this team gets on base a lot more. They're more likely to win because there's a relationship between the two. For example, if you're on base, you're more like, exactly, Megan earning everyone another 100 points. I just want you to read through people's answers. And this is our time to just think it through a little bit and be like, how do we explain to someone what it means for two things to be associated? It means there's a relationship that if we know this thing, that this team gets on base a lot, then they're going to have a higher probability of winning. There might be some sort of positive association that all these are great answers. And we're just trying to like firm up our knowledge here to be like, okay, we know coming to class is associated with good grades. And that wouldn't be a correlation, but we could say the more you come to class, now we're looking at correlation, the higher your grade. Does that make sense how I switched my variable? Brian switched from do you regularly come to class to how many classes do you attend? Brian's changing his variable class from a this to a this in the way he just spoke. Do you regularly come to class? How many classes did you attend this semester? Do you regularly come to class? What type is that? How many classes did you attend this semester? So Brian's changing his class right there, a variable. We're trying to throw some R lingo in here. Boom, right there, Matthew and everyone. Boom, you getting it right there. Boom's my new word. Boom, extra credit right there. So we have right here, just all cringe all day. Dab on. Oh. My coffee mug went to the edge. If I destroyed the Mario mug by dabbing, I'll never dab again in my life. Never again. So look at this right here. What do you notice? If this was your salary, and this is how often you attend BAS 320, what would you tell me about the distribution? And you can kind of draw the distributions here. So nice job, Benson. Excellent work. What would you tell me about these distributions right here? They look to have about similar spread, right? But do you notice, what do you notice about the more you attend BAS 320 and your salary? I do hope it's this way. What do you notice? If you know how much someone attends BAS 320, would it allow you to narrow down the possibilities? The mean gets higher. Great job right there. Stats 1 where it's the center of the distributions are getting higher. So we can talk about the center of each of these because it's kind of 3 different distributions if you draw them as histograms. That's what we're doing over here is we're just taking distribution 1, distribution 2, distribution 3, and looking at, and Megan pointed out greatly, that we see a difference in the means. As in, we would know people from distribution 1 are expected to get a lower mean. People from distribution 2 are expected to get a higher mean. Distribution 3 are expected to get the highest mean. It goes up. Excellent work, Benson. So we see differences in the distributions, and the more you attend, the higher your salary is likely to be. And Veda, I'm throwing you 100 points. I would have said no until Veda said the likely, and that's the perfect word to add. And then Diego adds in a great thing. The more you go to class, the higher average salary we observe. We observe higher average salaries for people who attend class more. Now, we want to be very careful. We're kind of going into other topics. We don't want to make this sound like a what relationship. We don't want to make this sound like a what. Think of like the thing you never try to imply about if you see something that you're just observing and you haven't done an experiment. Cause and effect, Megan, you know what we're talking about right here. You got it. We don't want to make it sound like if you go to class, you will get a higher salary. We're just saying we observe an association that people who go to, and great job, Emily, right there. We observe that people who go to class more get higher salaries. And I can't promise you that, but I do hope it's true. So the first thing you do, and I've literally seen this, great job, Mon, right there. I've seen this. I know Eastman may have had this on one of their things a while ago. Like, what do you first do when you get data after cleaning it? You're going to visualize it. You know, I mean, I think you should. You should make sure your data is clean, as in everything is organized, properly labeled. You have categorical variables set to factors. Everything is in the spreadsheets properly. That's cleaning your data. Organizing, cleaning, storing your data. Got that done? Now you're going to start data investigation. And the first way you investigate data is just to visualize it. You can start doing summary statistics and all that good stuff too, but we want to start here by doing a visualization of our data. What do you notice? And this is real data that Dr. Petrie ran. What do you notice about people's midterm scores and their final score? And I really, every semester, I try to break the trend. If it's okay if you got an email from me at the start, if you've started doing your work, that's awesome. But a big indication of how someone's going to do is how they do at the start. It doesn't determine the future, but it's such a strong predictor. If you're freaking out and being like, Brian, I didn't do well at the start of the semester, break the trend. You don't have to follow the trend in the data, but I know the trends. In a business analytics job, there's so much data available, so you focus on certain questions. Yeah, is there ever data that doesn't matter? Yes. And that's actually a problem. Megan, amazing question right there. You oftentimes have so much data that you have to figure out what data is the most important because you're flooded with data and then you have to like not use certain data, or sometimes you run an experiment or look at a survey data and you don't get any significant results. Like you're like, that was a waste of time and money. It happens. Or you run a power analysis and you don't do the analysis or you don't collect the data because you find out it wouldn't even be worth your time. That's a very important thing in industry is power analysis. We won't be going over that today. But sometimes you choose not to collect data. Like the best choice is to not collect data because you might be trying to find something that'd be pretty much impossible to find. Like it would just not be worth your time and money. You do just a cost-benefit analysis on it. Depends on what business you're in and what you're doing. I know a lot of businesses, power analysis is very important. Like this is a waste of our time and money to even pursue this. A lot of data analytics firms just don't use their data to do anything meaningful to the business, or they manipulate it just to get across from exactly. And so Daniel points out something great right there, is that a lot of businesses are either going to have, and we see this, data analytics departments that just don't even know how to, they just make charts or something like that. Like I've literally heard of you send the data down and they just make a chart for you. But think about why we have business analytics people. Back in the day, there was statisticians, and my dad was a statistician. And you know what they said? Why have a statistician who has to talk to the boss of like a project, and then you've got the workers, which the statistician could be a worker. So a business analytics person is going to be someone who's on a team who's making business decisions, who's not just the person. Like if you have to communicate the results of the data, why are you not making decisions from the results of the data? So it used to be the statistician would talk to the workers and would talk to the boss, but now the statistician could be the worker or the boss as a business analytics person. So it was kind of like, well, let's start incorporating the business aspect of this and the communication aspects into the data analytics, and you have a more powerful position. You have someone who makes data-driven decisions. And although we can't show cause and effect right here, there's a difference between making a cool dashboard and making a cool dashboard that allows management to make it better. Boom, Daniel right there knows all about this. Exactly. You've got, are they actually going to use it? If they don't use it, it's worthless. The practical significance, Daniel's just hitting some home runs today. The practical significance is important. And although we can't show cause and effect, what information do you learn from this? What would you tell somebody, although we can't say it's cause and effect, what valuable insight do you get from here between the association between score on midterm and score on final? What valuable insight do you get? You can't show cause and effect because you can't be like, well, if I ace the midterm, I will ace the final. It's not going to happen like that. If I fail the midterm, I'm going to fail the final. No, that doesn't have to happen. We notice here a very strong positive trend between the scores on midterm and scores on final, indicating to us that we would narrow down the possibilities of someone's score on the final if we know their score on the midterm. That the better you perform on the midterm, the more likely it is you'll do better on the finals. I like the more likely because Veda's doing it perfectly. It's not that you will score better on the final. It's more likely you'll score better on the final because the future is not determined and there's a strong correlation. Daniel and Veda earning everyone some points right there. It is likely that a high score on the midterm indicates a higher score on the final. Yes, you're more likely. And that's what an association is. Your score on the midterm is associated with the score on the final, but you're not promised a score. So just remember that. Like, you won't score well on the final because you scored well on the midterm. It's just that we know there's an association. Oh, man. Yeah, Petrie makes some hard stuff right here. We won't have 110. I got to... Nah, sometimes we do some curving. You never know. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We were exactly, Walker. Excellent work. So here we are back to Stat 201. Stat 201 all over again. Strength, direction, form, unusual features. So write this down. What I want you to write here, I like it, Benson, right there. Excellent work. So we got here the direction. The direction, if you're writing direction inside of here, it's going to have three ways it can go. Positive, negative, or I don't really know. Which is neither. And I don't know, whatever. So everyone see here, positive, negative. Yeah, I don't really know. It can be mixed. It can be, I don't really know. Not well described. The two real ones here are positive and negative. So whenever you look at this, we have four things we're going to describe right here. I'm going to ask you to put the four things later on for some bonus points. But the first thing we're talking about here is direction. Probably the easiest one to talk about. Does it go up? Does it go down? Is it not really well described by either? And you see examples down below. Oh, I like that right there, Megan, 20 points. Excellent work. Now we're talking about the form. And there's two main types of form. Put the two main types of form. So if you're doing form is going to have two main types of form. I'm going to abbreviate because I don't got a lot of room. My handwriting's really bad. So the two main types of form, it's either this or it's not a this. It's either this or it's not a this. Just think, you can say it's either A or not A. It's not A. So we either have it's a this or it's not a this. So the form tells us kind of the way in which the points go. Like, are they following a this pattern? Are they not following a this pattern? So we're going to say, to start, boom, right there, Matthew, great job. Boom's my new word. Linear, it's either a line or not a line. Linear, non-linear. So we see things are either a line or not a line. But not a line has two subtypes. Either it's going to be monotonic or non-monotonic. Because once again, it's either that or not that. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck is monotonic? It's your favorite band. What's your favorite band? I'll throw 100 points if you know your favorite band. A lot of people forget their favorite band. Who knows their favorite band? Surely you know your favorite band. Your favorite band is monotonic. It's not monotonic, but what does that mean? Glass Animals? You gotta check that out. I don't even know. It's not your favorite band, though. What's your favorite band? What's monotonic mean? Coldplay. Coldplay is good. They're touring with BTS, I heard. No, is that Imagine Dragons touring with BTS? Someone's touring with BTS. Nickelback. Mono. What does mono mean? Break it down. 100 points on the line for your favorite band. You'll never forget. Mono means one. What does tonic mean? Start thinking. You got it. You're so close to that 100 points, you can see it. You'll never forget your favorite band after this. Oh no, I'm sorry, Whitson, if you have mono. Walker knows their favorite band. Walker's favorite band is One Direction. Goes in one direction right here. So that was zero for the reasons. Not my. I'm sorry, Daniel. Your favorite band is non-monotonic, not One Direction. Your favorite band is either One Direction or not One Direction. So when you think about what One Direction is, the graph needs to go in one direction. All lines are monotonic because they go in one direction. Things that are not monotonic go in more than one direction. Does that make sense? What the word is monotonic? Does that make sense what the word monotonic means. It means the direction or the form of it is in one direction. He's no longer monotonic? Hairstyles, come on, man. Setting some... You can be a fashion influencer and still be monotonic. Do monotonic lines split up and do their own lines after... I just don't even know sometimes. Max gets joke. Or is that a joke or a quote, Max? I think it's a quote. We got to put that over there in the quotes. So no one will get that as a joke. That needs to be a joke. I think it's better as a joke. Okay, we got to fix that. It can be a joke and a quote. I'm fine with both. Max is crushing it today. Okay. Double doozy right there, hitting both lists right there. So next we have strength. Strength is this. Listen very closely and write this down. Strength is how tight it is around the form. I don't know. I don't get this easy. I'm a little worried now. Strength is how tight it is around the form. I want to see that in the chat. Strength is how tight it is around the form. Strength is how tight it is around the form. Strength is how tight it is around the form. Strength is how tight it is around the form. Start flooding the chat with that. Strength is how tight the relationship is around the form, or it is. The points. Strength is how tight it is around the form. That's what strength is. So which of these is the strongest? 1, 2, or 3? Which of these is the strongest? Which of these is the strongest? Strength is how tight it is around the form. Which of these is the strongest? You can also cheat and read the graphic too. It's 3. Why is 3 stronger than 2? Statistics is very memeable. Why is 3 stronger than 2? Because it's water around the form. Why is it stronger? It's very tight around. Exactly. Is this monotonic? Yes or no? Is this monotonic? Yes or no? Is that monotonic? Yes or no? And hint. Up, 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 up. That's a hint. So wait, listen carefully again. Up, 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 up. So I want everyone starting shouting the answer. Shout the answer because we got a little mix on the answers. I'll repeat it again, but this shows that you know what monotonic means. Keep shouting the answer if you know it. Just caps lock that answer in there. I'm going to repeat it again. I'm going to make it clear what the answer is to this. I need to change colors so you can see that I'm drawing over it. You ready? Listen to the answer. Up, 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 up. Yes, right there. Great job, Reed, right there. Yep. It goes in one direction. It's going in one direction. It's not linear though. This is an example of a form that is non-linear monotonic. Does that make sense right there? Great job, Reed and Kenneth right there. Sounds like some Gangnam Style, open Gangnam Style. Yenna covered that. Yenna's putting out some new videos. What's her new video? I should know Yenna's new video. That was better than Lisa's new video. I don't know who these people are. I said, you're tricking me right there, Whitson. Yep, it is monotonic. All these are monotonic. This is pretty much a weak, non-existent. You can call it monotonic. I don't know. It's just nothing. And then right here, sorry, nothing, number 1. And right here we got 2 is a moderately strong, positive, linear relationship. Now we do have another thing to talk about. So the scatter, how tight it is around the form is the strength. Make sure I know that. Would a graph of the square root of x be monotonic, like increases throughout, but it really levels out over the time? Yeah, so that is going to be, because square root x is going to go, does that one look like this right here over time? That's how that looks, right? I think so, right? If you plot the value of y as the square root of x, it's going to go, 4 is going to be 2, 9 is going to be 3. So, yeah, I think so too. I'm like visualizing in my head. Yeah, it can never go down. Exactly. Max, great answer right there. That can never go down. Like that is always going to be it's going to be slower. It's not linear, but it is monotonic. So great answer right there. Good application of the knowledge. It is monotonic. It goes in, it's always going to go up, even though it like levels off, like it's flattening out. It never goes down. And you can say something's mostly monotonic. Like you'll have things that look a little bit weird, and you can say it's mostly monotonic. So you can put a qualifying word on it. We do have something new, though. We have unusual features. Strength, direction, form, unusual features. Write those down. Strength, direction, form, unusual features, and then know what's the inner parts of them. The new thing we have, which Snea mentioned this today, great job in the 474 class and stuff. So a line is always monotonic, correct. And something that is monotonic, correct. Nathan, you are correct. All lines must be monotonic. So if we're saying that this is linear right here, which that's pretty linear, then that is monotonic. This one right here is monotonic, but is not a line. This one is just kind of weird. I don't know. Don't love that last one. This last one has a lot of outliers. This one might, it's got a little bit of heteroscedasticity. Now you might be wondering, what is this heteroscedasticity that we're talking about? Does anyone remember QQ straight enough? No outliers. 100 points for the last part of the saying. QQ straight enough. No outliers. QQ straight enough. No outliers. No longer do I get to chant this. We would yell this at the top of our lungs in Haslam. I waited for the day Dean Mangum came down and said, Brian, and I look in shock and he says, you're doing a great job. And I say, oh, thank you. He's very nice. He says that. He says that to me every day. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's Steve Mangum, Dean Mangum. Thank you so much. He does a great job and has been hugely supportive of what we've been doing here. I was afraid someone would always come down and be like, stop yelling. But no one ever did, so we just yelled louder. What is the last condition? QQ means two quantitative variables. Straight enough means a straight line well approximates the relationship. No outliers means we don't want these outliers here because they're going to drastically influence the plot. The last thing is, does the plot, or we don't want the plot to do this. I always say it as plot does not, who's got me on that last word right there? Plot does not what? Which is heteroscedastic. We don't want heteroscedasticity. Heteroscedasticity bad, homoscedasticity good. Plot does not. Sometimes I fear I've stopped streaming. Boom, right there, Kevin. You got it. Boom's the word of the day. Plot does not thicken. We do not want the plot to thicken. So heteroscedastic versus homoscedastic. I want to find a slide where I have a little more area to write on. Yeah, this is... okay, let's show it. Heteroscedastic versus homoscedastic. So homoscedastic, heteroscedastic. Homoscedastic means same spread. This means the plot has the same what? Something that is homoscedastic has a same consistent what? And this is going to be very important in a moment. Something that is homoscedastic has the same what? Thickness, correct, and thickness, the how thick it is or how tight it is around the form, is the what? Here's heteroscedastic. And it could get thicker or thinner. It just changes in strength. So let's draw one that's really weird. This is a very, very heteroscedastic relationship. Hetero means different or differing. And so we got a differing strength right here. So what's it changing throughout this? We don't want to see this. We don't want to see a differ what? We don't want, this is an unusual thing right here. You don't want this. So I just kind of said it. Something that is heteroscedastic does not have a consistent what throughout. Something that is heteroscedastic does not have a consistent what. We're homoscedastic, pretty much spread, which is the Diago right there. Great answer. We want it to be homoscedastic and to have an equal thickness throughout. Does that make sense? We want it to be of equal strength throughout because how tight it is around the form, and both of those are linear, how tight it is around the form is the what? How tight it is around the form is the what? How tight it is around the form is the what? How tight it is around the form is the strength. So we don't want to see this differing strength right here. We don't want to see a differing strength. We want to see a same strength throughout. Does that make sense? Because the way in which we measure the linear strength is what? This is a big question right here. The way we measure linear strength, which is the tightness around the linear form. I'll give you one guess of how we measure the linear strength, which is the tightness around the linear form. I'll give you one guess of how we measure the linear strength, which we want to be constant throughout. We don't want to see some sort of weird changes in strength right here. How do we measure the linear strength? Take a wild guess. How do you think we measure linear strength? Not R squared, so close. Don't go too wild guess. How do we measure the what is the one's on the right track? And what is R? What is R? R is what? The notation R in statistics stands for what? And it's a certain type of this specifically, which is the theme of this chapter. The notation R means what? These are things you just need to remember. Like, write these things down. I have you repeat them because I can just say them. I can say, now we're going to talk about Pearson's R. Pearson's R correlation is how we measure the linear strength. It is a type of association when we have two quantitative variables. It's a very specific type. Pearson's correlation can range between -1 and 1, which are both the same strength. 0 is the weakest. Here's some examples. Here's some examples of 0. These... Okay, let's not do that. That's bad teaching. Residual, well, so this won't be residuals. Let me slow down and go back a little bit. Residuals are how far a point is away, just to show. Residuals will come up when we get to regression because we need to have an actual minus a predicted. So we are almost in the realm of residuals. Residual is E, or I like to say residual wrap when I do it, and I'll draw the actual notation for it. I usually talk about residual wrap. Residual equals actual minus predicted. Residual is notation E, actual is notation Y, and predicted is Y hat. So, exactly, Megan, we'll go back. That type of teaching, not good right here. This is correlation, which we're talking about today. We won't be doing regression lines, but that's kind of where we're going with this, is that this is kind of the foundation of doing regression, is to start off by doing the correlation between two variables. And both of these, only one of these is really great for correlation. Both of them have a line, but that one has a differing strength, and this one has a consistent strength. So this is Pearson's correlation, and it's measured by R, and it's going to measure the linear strength. So that's when it applies. Is this making sense right here, that Pearson's correlation is a measure of linear strength, which is how tight things are around the linear form? And you'll see some examples. Oh, you got this, Mun. You got this. Write this down. Pearson's correlation is a measure of linear strength for two quantitative variables. Pearson's correlation is a measure of linear strength, how tight it is around the form, which is linear, for two quantitative variables. Wait, I thought correlation was measured using distance points from the lines? Pretty much. That's when you do it mathematically. We will be getting the mathematical computation of how tight it is or how spread out it is, and that's what you're seeing right here. And take a look, when we do correlation, it's between what? This correlation, Pearson's correlation, is only between what's, and we're examining what. So these are the keynotes you need. Correlation is only for what, and it's only going to look at what. That's the key aspects right here. Well, we'll get to residuals in a little bit. Residuals are when we fit the line. We haven't fit a line yet. For two quantitative variables, and then we're going to look at a linear relationship. Now, we're not writing the equation of a line yet. So, Megan, you're on the right track, because we will start writing an equation of a line when we do a regression. This is only going to be a correlation to look at a quantitative assessment of how correlated the two variables are, like how tight they are around the linear form. We're not going to write the equation of a line, though. We will do that in the next chapter, though. So you're right on track. So, and that'll also be between two quantitative variables. It doesn't matter which one we put in the X or the Y, because Y is correlated with X the way X is correlated with Y. The way in which we describe it might matter, though. So you might want to make sure you put your X and the Y in the right spot. So here we are with the values of correlation. Correlation can go as high as what? What is the highest value of correlation? What is the highest value of correlation? These are good questions, which we do have questions like this on the test. I'm trying to think of the right music for this. Hint, hint for the test. Teaching to the test alert moment. Highest value of correlation is 1. Perfect positive correlation. What is the lowest value of correlation? So be careful, Whitson, you're on the right track. I'm going to switch up these questions a little bit, so be very careful on the wording of this. The highest value of correlation is 1. What is the lowest value of correlation? The highest value of correlation is 1. That's the highest it can go. The lowest value of correlation is -1. That's the lowest it can go. What is the weakest value of correlation? What is the weakest value of correlation? What is the weakest? And so use the notes on the screen right here. The weakest value of correlation, 0 is the weakest. If you read this note right here, indicates that they're uncorrelated. It's the weakest. That's the weakest. What are the strongest values of correlation? What is the strongest values of correlation? Now I'll review what I said. What are the strongest? 1 and -1. Because these only differ in their what? Review question for the notes we just covered. These only differ in their what? Daniel, great notes right there. I'm throwing Daniel and everyone 100 points. Those only differ. Daniel's pointing it out. Those only differ in their what? The direction. Remember, strength, direction, form, unusual features. And this is only measuring the strength of what form? This is only correlation, only measures the strength of what form? It only measures the strength of what form? Correlation only measures Pearson correlation specifically. We'll have another one a little bit later. It only measures the strength of the linear form. So you can see right here, if we draw a line through this, and it was Miranda years ago who said, Brian, if you draw a circle around it, not a line, it looks like a 0. And the tighter it gets to a 1, the more it looks, the closer it is to 1. Look at how it gets tighter around a 1. Like if you were to draw the line through here, which is a 1, the tighter it is around it, the closer it is to 1. Now that looks like a 0, so it's close to 0. So these are just showing you the different strengths right here. And as it gets tighter around the linear form, it's going to either be closer to 1 or -1. How about that direction, Rock? Does that change the strength?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter if it goes up or down. That has nothing to do. So tell me this, good trick question. Does the slope of the line matter when it comes to strength? True or false? The slope of the line, that's a good question. The slope of the line matters when it comes to strength. Rock knows the answer. The slope of the line matters when it comes to strength.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It matters how what the points are around that line. It matters how what the strength, remember, review right here. It matters how what those points are around the line. It doesn't matter if the line goes like this or if the line goes like this. It matters how what those points are on the line. How tight, that's the strength. So it doesn't matter if the line's like that or like that. The tighter they are around the line is the strength they have to that form. It's still a linear form. It could just be very, very high increase, very, very strong, very high increase right there. What about these, though? Ooh, I ask this all the time. Which of these right here? You're going to think I'm being nice, but I'm actually being mean. Let's do a bet right here, and we're going to ask Mubot to take our bets. Remember, it's ! Bet, the option, and then the points. So you're betting on which is strongest. Is it 0? Don't put 0. It's not 0. You can bet up to 100 points when the betting starts. Put on our betting music. Which of them are the strongest? Which one is the strongest? Which of these is just the strongest relationship? Not Pearson. Whitson, they're all equal in Pearson strength. Whitson earns everyone a free 100 points to go bet with. Whitson, if we say you can only bet 100. Maybe at the end of the semester I'll do like a bet on 1,000, but better watch out. You could lose it. So remember, do ! Bet, and then the option you want. You could lose, you could win. You never know. ! Bet, option, then points. Max is going 1 point. I love that bet there, Max. Max is going 1 point on it. I just like someone betting 1 point. Just be like, take my 1 chip and put it over here. It's like a millionaire goes to the casino and they're like, just playing the penny slots. 10,000. Has Daniel put in their bet? I want to see Daniel's bet, and I'm gonna be like, I'll close the betting when Daniel bets. Daniel's never gonna bet now. He's just like, we can stay on this slide all day. Rest of the semester is this slide. We're stuck. Betting closes in 5 seconds. Get those bets in. 5, 4. I'm in the future. 3, 2, 1. Betting is closing. Remember, there was a free 100 points given out, so if you lost your points, it's all right. The answer is number 1. I asked this question a lot of semesters, and people get it wrong. What is the form to this? Who knows the form to the first one? It's a what form? You've seen this shape before? We're not a math class, but we can pretend to be for the moment. What form is it? Free point. Here's another 100 points. It's a smiley face. I can't draw if I'm laughing. Stop making me laugh. I'm kidding. Does the form matter?
It doesn't matter.
No. What do you notice about the first graphic? It's what to that parabola. The first graphic is what to that parabola. We'll go to that. So 1 and 3 are the main contenders. But what do you notice about the first graphic to the parabola? It's like perfect to a parabola. Does that make sense? This one has some scatter. This one has some thickness where you would go right here and say that's some missing. Does that make sense? It's the second strongest, I'd say. This one's actually the weakest because it's very heteroscedastic. This one is very heteroscedastic and very weak. So graphic 4 is very heteroscedastic, changing in strength, and it's very weak towards the center. It gets stronger towards the outside, but very heteroscedastic. This one's just a very circular, odd one. It's almost like we could cut it into 2 clusters and have a low group and high group. That one's just weird. This one here is some sort of time series sinusoidal. We'd call that a sinusoidal form. Like think about an S shape going through it. So, and this one over here is parabolic relationship, and it's super tight. Why is 4 weaker than 2? 4 might be. That's such a great comment right there, Max. Good points right there. 2 is like the weirdest one that I'd have the hardest time working with in analytics because someone might argue that 2 and 4 are of similar weakness. Like statisticians are going to fight over that. That was the great stats war that we had over this graphic. So I better continue on here in a moment. But this model all these models are going to predict this right here because they have no. It's a good question between 2 and 4 how we talk about them. 1 is definitely the strongest though. I can tell you that much because 1's perfect parabola. All of these graphics have no what. Take a look right here. All of these graphics have no what. All of these graphics have no what, and thus correlation 0. When you talk about Pearson correlation. 1 is the strongest nonlinear form. But the Pearson does that make sense, Daniel? 1 is the strongest nonlinear form, but its linear correlation is 0. It has no linear strength. So by saying correlation is equal to 0, we're saying there's no linear relationship. No, our studio. So we're saying there's no linear strength to 1, but there is an association that is what? Finish Brian's sentence. There is no linear strength to 1, but there's a very near perfect relationship that is what? So there is no linear strength to 1 because correlation is equal to 0, but there's a very strong what? Super strong what? Yeah, super strong nonlinear relationship. So you can still have, and that's kind of the trick question right here. There's a very strong nonlinear relationship between X and Y. Exactly. So one thing I want to mention is outliers can do anything. Anything is possible with outliers. When it comes to outliers, let me ask you 8 questions. You ready? And just get ready, chat. Go crazy right here. Can an outlier make a weak correlation strong? Hints for your assignment. Can an outlier make a weak correlation strong? Yeah. Can an outlier make a strong correlation weak? Keep going, chat. Wait, no, I see some no's. No. Chat, keep going. Keep answering these questions as they come across. Can an outlier make a positive association negative? Can an outlier make a negative association positive? Can an outlier make a weak positive association really strong? Can an outlier make a non-existent relationship negative? 50 points right there. What can outliers do again? What can outliers do? What do you think outliers can do? Max, great job right there following along. Outliers are the worst. Because what can they do? Basically telling tons of outliers right here. Outliers have superpowers. They can do what? What's possible with outliers? Anything. Outliers do as outliers want to do. They just, outliers be. So when it comes to outliers can do anything. Great answers in the chat right there. Outliers can do anything. So what is our saying? QQ straight enough. What do we want? QQ straight enough. What do we want? QQ straight enough. I like my saying. I miss going down, walking down the strip, and someone be like, QQ straight enough. No outliers right there. I promise you, we used to yell it back in the day. I'm out of coffee. QQ straight enough. No outliers. No Star Wars is bad because he's a Sith Lord. Everyone knows that. Good job, Daniel. So when it comes to R is correlation. R is correlation. And then what is R? How do you get R squared from correlation? How do you just how do you get R squared from correlation? If you have correlation, how do you get R squared? Square it. Let's do a good test question here. Once again, teaching to the test moment. Okay, so if I told you right here, we have a graphic, and the R squared of this, is equal to, let's say here's 0.36. What is correlation? What is correlation? Teaching to the test moment again. So you know R squared right now. What is correlation? Class will continue when the right answer is given. It's a trick question. Do you see it? Trick question. I like to ask the hard ones. Whitson right there, and in the points you see it. Whitson pointed out. Whitson explained. Max, great job right there. And don't worry, I asked the questions I know people are going to get wrong. I want you to see it here. What did you do, and what did you notice? What did you notice? You just made sure people are noticing it. This is why we come to class. And Reed, you are correct. It is 0.6 or negative 0.6, but we do know the answer. And how do we know the answer? Because I've drawn you a graphic so you can see it. You notice square rooting does take away the direction, but then, and so Megan, R squared is always positive, so you have to check the relationship. Max, 100 points. I'm literally just going to spam what Max wrote in the chat. Max literally is a better teacher than Brian right now with that. R squared is always positive, so you have to check the relationship when you square root it. Unless we're doing, why is my room breaking? R squared holdout. Then things get weird. The line has a negative slope, so it's negative. Great job, Reed, right there. Exactly. So you have to check the direction. Exactly. Dab on that direction right there. I don't want to kill my mug. So R squared can be between 0 and 1. So when you think about this, R squared is going to be the percent of variation we understand in Y with the information from X. How far X gets us to understanding Y. My brain broke. The percent of variation in Y explained by the X, blank percent of the variation in Y is explained by X, is R squared. What if I told you I have an R squared for the stock market equal to this? Would you be happy? Would you be excited? What would this mean in context right here if Brian told you I have an R squared for the stock market of this? Brian is telling you 20% of the stock market, like 20% of the variation in the stock market, is explained by my model. An R squared is always positive because it's like, how much do we understand? And R squared, the tighter the relationship, the higher the correlation. So this would be an R squared of 1 right here, even though, remember, R is going to be negative 1, which means we understand all the variation. Like I can perfectly predict, at least for the data points we have. So right now, Brian's telling you he understands 20% of the variation in the stock market from his model. Do you like that? What do you want to do? What do you people think? I want you to invest. You want to invest? It's not real. You don't want someone to be like, I watched your class and you're asking your students to invest. Like, no. It's an example. We're doing examples. I'd say so. 20% of the variation in the stock market being understood would probably be a huge advantage. You'd probably be making some great investments. You might not always be right. You might lose some money here or there, but over the long term, law of large numbers, you're probably going to make more investments that pan out because it's just probabilistic now. You will do great. So now let's open up a parachuting company, and I understand 20% of the variation in why your parachute opens. How do you feel about this one? I now understand 20% of the variation in why your parachute opens. Thoughts? Feelings? So at my internship, I calculated the goal ratings had an R squared. Yeah. Then only raise the R squared to be this. Yeah, and then you could compare your two models. Actually, so Daniel, did you run a partial F test on that to compare your two models? You could see if your new model does better than the old one. Daniel, if you want, I can tell you more about the partial F. We'll be doing the partial F when we get to multiple regression. But if you created a second model right there and you want to see if it really does better, because your second model looks to have additional variables, you want to either look at your adjusted R squared, or you want to do a partial F test to compare two models. So Daniel, amazing work. You're using some of this stuff right now. There's an individual who made a chatbot to let his friends invest for him automatically. He actually made $1,000. There you go. Yeah, if you want to know how to just compare the models to see if it's actually helping out, to see if you get a significant return or if just adding the extra variables. Because here's the thing, when you add extra variables, what do you think X's do? Little jump into a later topic. What do you think? And what William's a little bit less excited when we only understand 20% of the variation why parachutes open. That's not as good. Because when we talk about R squared is a measure of what? R squared is a measure of what? R squared will be something that you will use on your assignments whenever you have to talk about what? There's a keynote. People on the assignment say, how can I talk about this for this? And I said, do you have an R squared? R squared is a measure of what? It can tell us the what of our model. I think it's like how usable our model is, which Daniel was pointing to right there. Like, then I added, and unfortunately, so not really that big of a difference. Daniel is saying there's not much of a what between his models. So Daniel said 27% to 30%, that's not much of a what difference between my models. Does this make sense, Daniel? If I said this to you, you're telling me that your increase from 27% R squared to 30% R squared is not that practically significant to you. It's not that you don't really care that much. You didn't think it was that big of an important difference between the two models. Like there wouldn't be one reason to use a model over the other. Like the bigger model really didn't do that much practically better. It is higher, but it's not very practically significant in how higher it is. Like not really that usable. You didn't make some great leaps and bounds that you're like, yeah. And that's what practical significance is. And look at how much I had to say rather than yes or no. And what am I doing when I'm talking about Daniel's models right there? And so p-values will always be statistical. What did I do? What did you hear me say? And I'm going to repeat it. Daniel communicated to us that he made one model with an R squared that explained 27% of the variation in the success of a hospital, and then another model explained 30% of the success of a hospital. So we see a difference of about 3% between these models in the R squareds. That's really not that big of a difference, and we don't really find the bigger model to be that usable. Now, don't go by that. We'll run some more statistics if you want to show me the work with the data. But what do you notice I'm doing when I'm writing my answer to this test question right here? What must you do? It's the big thing we say we have to do whenever we talk about practical significance. Anytime we talk about practical significance, and you heard it in my answer right there, you must do the what every time you talk about practical significance. You must do the what. You are, Megan, you are correct, Megan. You are going to, I think Nathan said right there, say the R squared, quote the numbers. You must quote the numbers and then make your case for it. And Megan mentioned something really great right there, because the first thing I wanted to do with Daniel right there was look at the partial F test. What do you think a partial F test will get us? 100 points question right here. What do you think a partial F test? This goes beyond this lecture, but what do you think a partial F test will have us investigate first? Because this is the first door you go through. This is how it's a review question. Brian is doing a partial F test to investigate what? You don't need to know what the test is. You just need to be like, oh, he's probably looking for this right now, which is the first thing we look at. And Megan's kind of pointing to it. The partial F test would have us first investigate whether or not the difference we are observing is what? Because that's the first question we ask. Let me do Whitson's question next. Brian's test would first have him investigate what? Whether or not that difference is statistically significant. Yes, great job right there. That's exactly. Does that make sense? Because we first look at statistical, and then once we do statistical, we look at practical. So don't worry about the partial F test right now. And Daniel, if you want, I can tell you more about that. That would have us investigate if the difference is statistically significant, less than 0.05 p-value. And then you get to look at, well, does this 3% really matter? Do I actually care about it? And that's when we look at the practical significance and we quote the numbers. So what the practical mean, if hospital B has 100% lower reviews than hospital A, they are likely to perform 30% worse. Not quite. Whitson, still great work right there. I throw out some points and great answers. Let me slow down because chat's kind of slowed down a little bit. How are people doing and what are people thinking? Talk to me, chat. Talk to me. How are people doing? We've got some r and r squared right here. This one's an easier one. We can see to get the r squared, we're just going to square root r. Or if we want to get, well, that's not the one you square root. You square root r squared to get r. And then you look at the direction. Amazing notes right there pointed out earlier that when we want to get r from r squared, we square root r squared and look at the direction. Do not forget to look at the direction and never say things are cause and effect. How's everyone doing right now? I want to hear from everybody. Waking everyone up right here. No, you need that coffee. Not gonna lie, those are hard for me. I did Stat 2-1 as a dual enrollment 2 years ago and I've forgotten some. No worries, Daniel. This is our time to review. So it'll be easier with the review right here. This is why we have review in this class. Daniel, thank you for saying that right there. Throwing some points out to Daniel right there. So don't worry, big refresh. Hashtag show up, review the concepts. So R is measuring the what right now? This R is measuring the what? I've got interpretations on the screen. This R is looking at the what between these two things. That R right there, we're looking at someone's attractiveness and how much people think their friendship potential is. And then you literally have plug and chug interpretations here for the R squared interpretation. And it does the 1 minus R squared, which is coefficient non-determination. So the R right there is looking at what? Yeah, if that's Whitson, I think that's got it. Yep. So 30% of the variation in the hospital scoring can, if it is, yeah, that Whitson, 100 points Whitson. And Veda's pointing out this is the linear strength, correct? Which this is a somewhat strong linear relationship between the two variables because it's a pretty high R. And it doesn't matter. It's positive also because the number's greater than 0. Then also we see right here, go to meeting. Oh, 2 hours ago. And then we see right here that we have R squared is the percent of variation in Y explained by X, saying 56% of the variation in how much friendship potential people have is explained by their attractiveness. This is weirdness. Here we have what is called a correlation matrix. We don't like correlation matrices. Correlation matrices are going to take all of your variables, like you have here variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, variable 4, and you're going to do the same thing over here, but you're going to look at the relationships. Now, you will see a lot of times a diagonal of 1 because you're correlating the same variable with itself. So that's not really of interest. We might want to know what is the strongest correlation in this matrix, and it would be the one with the biggest absolute value, which is somebody's fitness score with their attractiveness score, I believe, right there. But we have something better. This is a big thing right here. And I'm going to show some of this in R. This is called the all correlations function. Take a wild guess at what all correlations function does. Do you have any wild guesses about what the all correlations function does? The all correlations function will give us what for a data frame? The all correlations function will give us what for a data frame? The all correlations function, we give it a data frame and just take a wild guess of what it'll find for us. You're right. It does. Great job, Whitson, right there. Let's go check it out here on the main screen. So yeah, it does all the pairwise correlations between. Great job right there, Daniel. Giving a little more context, it's going to do all the pairwise correlations. So make sure you have library reg class pulled up, and with library reg class pulled up, the all correlations function is inside of library reg class. You can tell it's inside of library reg class because it has reg class beside it. Intuitive naming system here at UT, you bet. All correlations possible, by the way, data combination. Exactly. The rock, circle, oh, exactly. We're good about some naming conventions. So we've actually, let's load in data survey 11. And what is this going to give me for survey 11? What did this just print to the screen? Explain what I just got right here for running this code. Brian got what for running this code? See to me, Brian, this is a mess. How am I supposed to read through this? There's even more to it than we see. I just got what? I swear times I hear like people walking around the apartment. What did I just get? By running all correlations survey 11, what did I just get? Ignore that. I got all possible correlations between quantitative variables in survey 11. Great answer right there, Megan. I got all possible relationships between quantitative variables in survey 11. But what if I am only interested in this variable? Take a look. Much shorter list now. A much shorter list right here. A much shorter amount. Because now you'll notice I'm only looking at correlations where GPA is there. What did I add to my function that I ran? I added an additional what? So take a look at the code I wrote. Brian has added an additional what to the function he is running. Brian is adding an additional what to the function he is running. I have added an additional what. I put my comma, and then I wrote a little bit more. Nice job right there, Wilton. I added an additional argument. Basically, like, I make sure I'd call it an argument. It is kind of like a condition. We call them arguments. It's like instructions. So interest is an additional argument. How about this? Sorted equals magnitude. Good one for the assignment. What do you notice now about the correlations and the way they go? They go from whatist to whatist on the correlations. The correlations go from whatist down to whatist by doing magnitude, which is their magnitude or absolute value. Strongest to weakest. Strongest to weakest. How about if I do this? If I knew how to spell. Now the correlations here go from what down to what. Now the correlations go from what to what. If I do strength, because remember, strength is measured from this to this. So you got to be careful. Strength seems like it would be magnitude, but it's measured from this number to this number. So it does the strength in this. So strength will put them in order of what? What will strength do? Strength won't do absolute value. Strength will do by -1 to 1. Does that make sense right here? Strength will put them from the lowest to the highest. So strength will do from -1 to 1. Magnitude will do the absolute value. So what you could do right here is you can pick any variable you want, like why do people drink? And let's find out the biggest reason why people drink. Do we want to know? Magnitude. Make sure to spell them properly. The number one reason, it kind of makes sense. Can you tell me about people who like to drink? What is associated with people who drink? Oh my gosh, this is craziness right here. Please drink responsibly. Not a joke. Please drink responsibly. What are the most correlated variables? Well, that is true, Mun. What are the most correlated variables right here? Take a look at the most highly correlated variables and their positive correlations, except for this one. We're looking at people's number of drinks per week, and we also have the p-value over here. Ooh, statistically significant, all of these. Sorry. Drink responsibly. So what do you notice about the associations here with the correlations with these? So I know, right? You're noticing right here. Why, Whitson, what are you noticing about this with the correlation between your drinks and your GPA? How many drinks you have a week? This is the adult drinks. What are you noticing right here? Start telling me things about this. And actually, this might be a lurking variable. We might see some lurking stuff. Why is it height? Yes. Uh-huh. And you know how we can fix that? Watch this. Let's fix that right here by doing the following. Let's go to survey 11 and go to males and go to subset survey 11. That's 10. And gender is M and F. So on x02.gender equals M. Good, that worked. It's a graphic thing, don't worry. And then let's go females. We got our males. There we go. And there we go, females. Okay. So now, and I think there might have been, I think it might be a very small group though. Let me see right here real quick. Let me see the variable. No, okay. And so now let's go and let's redo it for only males. And let's see if that variable goes away. So all I did there was subset. Let's put the 2-minute warning on. So now the more people you talk to, exactly, there's a high association with being social and drinking, which is kind of something we would expect. Here's why males drink. Once again, males being social, and I bet you weight is highly correlated, but is height. Look down here, height actually has an association by controlling for gender right here. We see that height is no longer statistically significant. Statistically significant would have to be 0.05, which we are obtaining the 0.05 significance right here. Everything above there, everything from here above is statistically significant. So we see for males, their positive correlation with talking on the phone, with staying awake, with lower GPAs, with having more Facebook friends, a social thing, having housemates, sending texts, weight, driving cars fast, careful, ID, which is weird because that's an identifier, and brushing your teeth. Ooh. And it's actually positively correlated with brushing your teeth. Yay. But for females right here, the last thing we'll look at, we can run this for females right here. And the last thing we see, drinking with females is highly correlated. Here are the statistically significant ones with p-values less than 0.05. That is scientific notation. Oh, that one's less than 0.05 also. Very little time. Associated with sending text, Facebook friends, driving cars fast. Be very careful. Talking to people on the phone, staying awake. These are all positive correlations. Brushing teeth. How attractive you think you are. How many significant others. How many people you've dated. How many countries you've visited. How many speeding tickets you've had, and negatively correlated with GPA. So it's correlated. Drinking more is correlated. Oh, and I think this class, we must have literally ending here in a second. But that's got it. So interesting to go through and look at this data. This is real data, so you never know what you're going to see. But does that make sense? What we did right there, Max, is we controlled for gender, and we saw that probably controlling for gender removed the aspect of height and weight. It definitely removed... I think, yeah, females did not have any significant correlation with height. So, yeah, and be very careful. Never, ever, ever drink and drive. Super dangerous. Call an Uber, call a Lyft, call a friend. Be safe out there. I do say that in all seriousness. It's no laughing matter. So I see some of these have low correlations, but also low p-values. Does that mean something can be... something can be statistically significant, like... This right here is statistically significant, but may not be very what? Because that's the correlation. And then here's the R squared of it. It explains about 1%. Did I not square that? Why is that still negative? It should not be negative. That was weird. Did square it and then negate it? That's weird. So somebody, for females and drinking, yeah, that's much better avenue than ever drinking and driving. As long as you feel safe getting into the car with the person you're getting in the car to, do it. Please make good judgment calls there too, obviously. Just, it's have good friends who look out for you. And that's one of the best advice I can give. It's life advice for Brian. Have good friends who look out for you. And have some plans. Like, unfortunately, sometimes you have to have plans, plural, because it could fall through, especially in current world situation with Uber and Lyft and all those things. Sometimes maybe those might not be dependable. So, I'd hate to hear that something happened to somebody. It's never anyone's fault if anything happens to you. It's just tough. And there's a lot of unavoidable stuff. Like, think if you're on campus. T-Link, yeah, T-Link. And I totally want to mean this. I just don't want anyone ever to think that it's your fault if anything happens, because like car accidents happen. And I try to be as safe of a driver as I can. When I get to an intersection before I go, I look both ways. You'd be like, Brian, you're crazy. You got a green light. Well, it was about 3-4 years ago now. I got to an intersection. Oh my God, it was so crazy. I got to the intersection. Where's it in front of? It's in front of that new apartment complex near PF Chang's and no, is it PF Chang's? Why can't I think of the name of it? Panda Express and the other place, chicken place, Cane's. So I was right there at that stoplight behind the strip, look both ways, and then I go. And then all of a sudden out of the side of my eye, I see it, just an SUV coming at us. And so it's not my fault that happened. I took a lot of precautions, and luckily we're totally fine. But my gosh, that was scary. Like, I just thought, I think my brain literally says, this is where I die. Happy topics today, right? It's impossible to avoid all risk. And it's not my fault, or it's not anyone's fault when something like that happens to you. This is tough. It's tough. And so be out there for your friends. Help each other. Try to look out for each other. And that's the best we can do. Like, the best we can do is try to help each other and look out for each other and try to minimize these things that could happen. So, if you see a friend, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. If you see a friend who's going towards their car and you feel like they've had a few too drinks, maybe you say, hey, let me call you a lift. And they say, no, I got to move my car. And you say, I haven't drank. Give me your keys. I'll move your car for you. You go take a lift, or I'll drive you home. What am I doing? While we driving? I'll call. I haven't drank. If you've drank, then you say, look, worst thing that's going to happen tonight is you get towed from here. We can deal with you getting towed. You get towed, but if tonight you drive your car and you get in an accident, there's a lot of bad that could happen. And so, I want to look out for you here. So let's try to be safe. I'll accompany you home. Or if you're downtown or something, walk home. So, never ever drink and drive. It's my little PSA right there. Oh, thank you, Vader, right there. I just, it's hard because, I hate for anyone ever to think like something bad that happens is your fault, because there's a lot of bad things that happen that we just have no control over. It's tough. Like last night I woke up and I wasn't feeling well and I was really worried. I woke up and I was all dizzy. I was like, oh, did I get the Rona? And I was really afraid for a moment, and I felt better this morning, but I feel like I've taken a lot of precautions, but you just can't, sometimes you can do everything right and still lose. But you know what you can do? The best thing we can do is try to do everything right. But even then, you're not promised. So look out for each other, help out each other, be there for each other when times are good and when times are bad. See, that's, they say that. So when times are bad, that's when you know you got your real friends. When times are bad. So be that friend for somebody. Be that friend. Friend going through a bad time, say, hey, you want to go out and get some food? You want me to swing by? You want me to pick up some cookout? I'm picking up some cookout. Oh, dude, if I was having a bad time, my friend was like, hey, Brian, I'm picking up some cookouts. You want what is it? What is the one with the cheddar style? Of course, it's cheddar style. So you want a cheddar style double? I say, I don't have any money. I'm not even kidding. There was a time where I was eating ramen and cereal and popcorn. That was my diet. Not a good diet. And my brothers and sister helped me out. They said, let me help you pay rent. So I've had a lot of people in my life help me out. So if you want to do something, Be that friend, be that person for somebody who helps someone out going through a rough time. It means a lot to us. We remember it. And I hope other people have people there for them too. Reach out if you need some help. If you're in that position where you want someone to help, reach out, just talk to people, and yeah, we got a lot of resources at UT. So with that, we're gonna stay positive. We're gonna stay strong. We'll be back here for Office Hours in a little bit. I'll see you then. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.